how to detach from people or things. If you're like me, you're probably that person who has attachment styles. You're that person who loves to hold on to things that you deem valuable, or things and situations that you feel like, oh my god, I am really nobody without this, or I really need this people, I really need this thing in my life. So if you're such a person, you're that person like me who used to be attached, or a person who is very attached to people and things, then watch this video. Point number one is know your worth. If you're a person who is constantly attached to things or situations, it is because you don't know your personal worth. You haven't understood how worthy you are of better. You haven't understood the worth you carry, and that in as much as the next person is valuable, you are a person of value too. You are a person who equally brings much more value or betterment into a situation. You add onto a lifestyle, you add on to people. So when you begin to understand your value, when you begin to look at yourself and see yourself in a greater light, in a deeper light, you will begin to understand that, oh my god, I shouldn't be so attached to people. I should actually learn to detach from people or situations when they're no longer serving me. I shouldn't be putting myself in a situation that's no longer serving me. Point number two is learning to understand that nothing is constant. Things are always changing. Things are constantly changing. Nothing ever remains permanent, except of course the concept of life. That is what we would say is something that is more constant, but everything else changes with time. Even things like buildings change with time. They become dilapidated, structures change, and all that kind of stuff. So nothing is constant. When you begin to understand that, you will begin to hold yourself with more grace. You will equally be more graceful with people, because you'll understand that, oh my god, just because today we are close, tomorrow things may change, and you no longer look at me the same way. You no longer feel that I am adding to your life or I'm beneficial in that particular moment, whereas I would have been beneficial prior. So by understanding that things constantly change, nothing remains constant, then you begin to detach from situations or things. You will begin to understand that sometimes it is not you who's the bad guy, or it is not your doing that things have not gone the way they're supposed to. It is because time has passed. It is because you may have begun to see things differently. It is because that values change in individuals and people. Point number three is learning to understand what role each person or situation is meant to play in your life. Now, I need to explain this because it is easy for people to misunderstand this point, or look at this point and be like, what do you mean, Jackie? I personally believe that every person we ever encounter in this life is meant to play a particular role in our lives. Now, that role depends on how you guys became friends. Did you meet that person in an instant where you did not value yourself? Maybe you're a person who was constantly frustrated about certain stuff, so you met another negative Lucy, right? You met someone else who was equally looking at life in that light, and they were feeding that bit of you, validating the whatever experiences you are having. So they were meant to play a role in your life, and that is feed you more with that negativity. Or maybe did you meet a person who played a positive role in your life, and in that particular instance you needed them maybe to feed life into you, or you needed to learn from a particular situation, you needed to learn from a particular thing. And I personally believe when you learn certain lessons in life, you outgrow those situations, you outgrow those things. So each person comes with a specific role in our lives. Some roles are short term, whereas other roles are long term. Other roles are roles whereby people come into your life and, oh my god, you guys become family, you guys become very close friends. Whereas others just come into your life to be maybe a life lesson. For instance, maybe that ex-boyfriend you had just needed to come into your life so that you would learn that, oh my god, I don't like this for myself. I don't like this type of lifestyle for myself. I don't like people who behave this way towards me, right? So maybe that was why they came into your life. Whatever situation we encounter is meant to better us or is meant to teach us something. It's either we learn from it or we don't learn from it. And if you don't learn from that situation, you will continue to experience more of that until you eventually do. Point number 4 is begin to understand the value that you bring to people. I personally believe that there's no person in this world who is unvaluable. Every person, even the people that you may look at today and feel like, oh my God, this person's useless, they bring value to this world. Every individual is valuable. And when you begin to understand the value you hold, the power you hold, you will hold yourself with higher regard, with higher esteem. You will understand that, oh my God, because I am valuable, I do not need to be treated this way or to be kept in this really, to be held loosely or to be disregarded. Because you've understood the value you have as an individual, you'll be less attached to people. Because sometimes we think other people are more valuable than we are. We look at ourselves and, oh my God, we treat ourselves like nobodies. We treat ourselves so loosely. We think like, oh, okay, I'm not doing much in this other person's life. If you're in their life, there is something that you're doing. You may not understand it. They might not even understand it. Maybe it is the company that they need. Maybe you have created a friendship that they've never experienced. That too is valuable. Understand that you are equally as valuable as the very next person you are placing your value on. And when you place yourself in a valuable position, when a situation or a place or people are no longer serving you in a positive light and are deeming your light or are taking from you, draining your energy, you will detach yourself. You will become less attached to those people, to those situations, and to those things. Point number 5 is affirmations and self-concepts. Now, for everybody who knows me, you know that I'm one person who's big on speaking light into yourself. I am big on affirmations. I am big on changing your self-concepts. Sometimes why we tend to attach to people, situations, or things is because of our poor self-concepts. But when you begin to speak life into yourself, you begin to speak affirmations into yourself. I am worthy, I am valuable, I am happy, I bring value to people. People see me in a positive light. Only good and great things come to me. I only experience good and perfect things. When you begin to speak life into yourself, when you look at yourself in that mirror and you change what you say about yourself, even your outlook on life changes. Your perception of life changes. What you begin to tolerate changes. And because that changes, you begin to detach from things that are no longer serving you. And you begin to detach from things that take away from your energy or things that no longer make you happy. So you see, sometimes we are so attached because of the self-concepts we have, the poor self-concepts we have, the poor affirmations, the poor way we speak to ourselves. And because we've been doing that for such a long time, we take away from ourselves and then we pour into others, and we see and put these other people on a pedestal and believe that those people are better than us because we have lost who we are. We have lost value in ourselves. We have lost that appreciation for ourselves. So begin to speak life into yourself. Speak affirmations and change your self-concepts. So point number 6 is create boundaries. Now, this is very important in any sphere of your life. I believe I have shared this in other videos when I have discussed different topics. Just go through my videos, watch, and you'll be able to see. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Equally share with friends so that your friends are also able to learn from this. These are things that I have personally learned and I am sharing with you guys. Now, begin to create boundaries. When you create boundaries for people, you will not tolerate poor behavior from people for a very long period of time. When you create boundaries for people, you will understand when people are no longer serving you. You will understand when it's time to cut people off. People will equally understand that they need to tread carefully because you have set certain guidelines for your personal life. You have learned what you want and what you don't want. what you appreciate from what you don't appreciate. And so even when people know that you have boundaries, they will come to you properly. And even when they do cross a boundary, you will find an appropriate, respectful way of addressing those things that you felt were crossed. And once you do, you might be gracious enough to give them room to change. But if you notice that over time and time again, they continue to cross those boundaries, you will find that it's very easy for you to detach yourself from that situation, to detach yourself from that thing, to detach yourself from those people. If you've noticed, most people who have attachment styles, most people who have challenges detaching from people or things, most of these people are people who have not set boundaries for other people. These are people who have not set boundaries as to what they want and what they do not want for themselves. So because they have not set those boundaries, they hold on to even things and situations and people who treat them so poorly, right? So remember, the moment you begin to set those boundaries, people will tread carefully, and even you will know when it's time for you to detach from a situation, from a person, or from a thing. Point number 7, know that you will be okay. Now let me explain this. What do I mean when I say know that you will be okay? Sometimes, and this is like a personal one, especially when I was younger, I held on to certain friendships because I felt like, oh my God, I'll be by myself. I won't be okay without that friend. I won't be okay if that person leaves my life. But immediately they left, and sometimes people left anyway, right? People left anyway because it was time for them to go. It was time for them to leave. Maybe I was no longer serving them. But I found out that the moment they left, I was still okay. And as much as we want people, we want things, we want situations in our lives, if those things are no longer meant to be in our lives, trust me, it'll be okay. You will be okay. You will be fine. In that moment, you may panic, you may be afraid, you may worry, but it will only get better from there. It will only be so much better. You would have learned, you would have experienced, you would have created memories, and you would have created room to create more memories, to create better experiences for yourself. So point number 8 is basically you needing to learn that you matter too. Now I think I have touched on this in my other points that I've given you guys, where I speak of how valuable you are, the value that you bring, where I speak of that you equally fit into people, you add on to people, right? And by so understanding, you will know that you bring value too. You will know that you're equally just as important as the next person. You'll understand that there is nothing in this world that would ever take away from who you are. There's nothing in this world that will be more important than you are. Okay, maybe except God. But aside from that, you are just as important, just as valuable as any other person, regardless of what experiences you have been through, or regardless of what life has put you through. You are just as valuable. Don't take away from yourself. Understand yourself and hold yourself to much greater esteem and grace. The last point. So the last point is basically detaching from situations, people, or things allows room for more. Have you ever noticed when you let go of certain friendships that are no longer serving you, you begin to meet people who walk a similar path as you do? Or when you let go of a certain job or certain situation, a better situation presents itself, better job presents itself. Or maybe you had that boyfriend that you were with for so many years, but he was treating you so poorly. And then now you're single and you meet this other guy who treats you way better. So when we detach from situations, people, or things, we only allow room for better. It only goes and gets better from there. It's only upwards. And it's never downwards unless you intentionally let it go down. But when you learn your lessons and all that you need to learn, girl, boy, there's no way it's going back down, right? So when you're detached from people, situations, and things, greater comes into you, better experiences, better situations, better friendships. All I can say is only the very best comes to you. Better comes to you. So that is all I had for you guys. Like, share, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Bye.